Must say, Monsieur le Juge d'Instruction, that your astonishment surprises me. What is there to prevent my being a sixth-form pupil at the Lycée Janson? My beard, perhaps? Set your mind at ease. My beard is false." Isidore Beautrelet pulled off the few curls that adorned his chin, and his beardless face appeared still younger and pinker. A genuine schoolboy's face, and with a laugh like a child's, revealing his white teeth. "Are you convinced now?" he asked. "Do you want more proofs? Here, you can read the address on these letters from my father. To Monsieur Isidore Beautrelet, indoor pupil, Lycée Janson de Sailly." Convinced or not, Monsieur Filleul did not look as if he liked the story. He asked gruffly: "What are you doing here?" "Why, I'm improving my mind." "There are schools for that. Yours, for instance." "You forget, Monsieur le Juge d'Instruction, that this is the 23rd of April and that we are in the middle of the Easter holidays." "Well?" "Well, I have every right to spend my holidays as I please." "Your father—" "My father lives at the other end of the country, in Savoy, and he himself advised me to take a little trip on the north coast." "With a false beard?" "Oh, no, that's my own idea. At school we talk a great deal about mysterious adventures. We read detective stories in which people disguise themselves. We imagine any amount of terrible and intricate cases. So I thought I would amuse myself, and I put on this false beard. Besides, I enjoyed the advantage of being taken seriously, and I pretended to be a Paris reporter. That's how last night, after an uneventful period of more than a week, I had the pleasure of making the acquaintance of my Rouen colleague. And this morning, when he heard of the Ambrumésy murder, he very kindly suggested that I should come with him and that we should share the cost of a fly." Isidore Beautrelet said all this with a frank and artless simplicity, of which it was impossible not to feel the charm. Monsieur Filleul himself, though maintaining a distrustful reserve, took a certain pleasure in listening to him. He asked him in a less peevish tone: "And are you satisfied with your expedition?" "Delighted. All the more as I had never been present at a case of the sort, and I find that this one is not lacking in interest." "Nor in that mysterious intricacy which you prize so highly." "And which is so stimulating, Monsieur le Juge d'Instruction. I know nothing more exciting than to see all the facts coming up out of the shadow, clustering together, so to speak, and gradually forming the probable truth." "The probable truth? You go pretty fast, young man. Do you suggest that you have your little solution of the riddle ready?" "Oh, no," replied Beautrelet with a laugh. "Only it seems to me that there are certain points on which it is not impossible to form an opinion, and others, even, are so precise as to warrant a conclusion." "Oh, but this is becoming very curious and I shall get to know something at last, for I confess, to my great confusion, that I know nothing." "That's because you have not had time to reflect, Monsieur le Juge d'Instruction. The great thing is to reflect. Facts very seldom fail to carry their own explanation." "And, according to you, the facts which we have just ascertained carry their own explanation?" "Don't you think so yourself? In any case, I have ascertained none besides those which are set down in the official report." "Good! So that if I were to ask you which were the objects stolen from this room—" "I should answer that I know." "Bravo! My gentleman knows more about it than the owner himself. Monsieur de Gesvres has everything accounted for. Monsieur Isidore Beautrelet has not. He misses a bookcase in 3 sections and a life-size statue which nobody ever noticed. And if I ask you the name of the murderer, I should again answer that I know it." All present gave a start. The deputy and the journalist drew nearer. Monsieur de Gesvres and the 2 girls, impressed by Beautrelet's tranquil assurance, listened attentively. "You know the murderer's name?" "Yes." "And the place where he is concealed, perhaps?" "Yes." Monsieur Filleul rubbed his hands. "What a piece of luck! This capture will do honor to my career. And can you make these startling revelations now?" "Yes, now. Or rather, if you don't mind, in an hour or 2, when I shall have assisted at your inquiry to the end." "No, no, young man, here and now, please." At that moment, Raymond de Saint Véran, who had not taken her eyes from Isidore Beautrelet since the beginning of this scene, came up to M. Filleul. "Monsieur le Juge d'Instruction." "Yes, mademoiselle?" She hesitated for 2 or 3 seconds, with her eyes fixed on Beautrelet. And then, addressing M. Filleul, "I should like to ask monsieur the reason why he was walking yesterday in the sunk road which leads up to the little door." It was an unexpected and dramatic stroke. Isidore Beautrelet appeared nonplussed. "I, mademoiselle? I? You saw me yesterday?" Raymonde remained thoughtful, with her eyes upon Beautrelet, as though she were trying to settle her own conviction, and then said in a steady voice: "At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, as I was crossing the wood, I met in the sunk road a young man of monsieur's height, dressed like him and wearing a beard cut in the same way, and I received a very clear impression that he was trying to hide." "And it was I?" "I could not say that as an absolute certainty, for my recollection is a little vague. Still, I think so. If not, it would be an unusual resemblance." M. Filleul was perplexed. Already taken in by one of the confederates, was he now going to let himself be tricked by this self-styled schoolboy? Certainly the young man's manner spoke in his favor, but one can never tell. "What have you to say, sir?" "That mademoiselle is mistaken, as I can easily show you with one word. Yesterday, at the time stated, I was at Veules." "You will have to prove it. You will have to. In any case, the position is not what it was. Sergeant, one of your men will keep monsieur company." Isidore Beautrelet's face denoted a keen vexation. "Will it be for long?" "Long enough to collect the necessary information." "Monsieur le Juge d'Instruction, I beseech you to collect it with all possible speed and discretion." "Why?" "My father is an old man. We are very much attached to each other, and I would not have him suffer on my account." The more or less pathetic note in his voice made a bad impression on M. Filleul. It suggested a scene in a melodrama. Nevertheless, he promised: "This evening, or to-morrow at latest, I shall know what to think." The afternoon was wearing on. The examining magistrate returned to the ruins of the cloisters, after giving orders that no unauthorized persons were to be admitted, and patiently, methodically dividing the ground into lots which were successively explored, himself directed the search. But at the end of the day he was no farther than at the start, and he declared, before an army of reporters who during that time had invaded the château: "Gentlemen, everything leads us to suppose that the wounded man is here, within our reach. Everything, that is, except the reality, the fact. Therefore, in our humble opinion, he must have escaped, and we shall find him outside." By way of precaution, however, he arranged with the sergeant of gendarmes for a complete watch to be kept over the park, and, after making a fresh examination of the 2 drawing-rooms, visiting the whole of the château, and surrounding himself with all the necessary information, he took the road back to Dieppe, accompanied by the deputy prosecutor. Night fell. As the boudoir was to remain locked, Jean Daval's body had been moved to another room. 2 women from the neighborhood sat up with it, assisted by Suzanne and Raymonde. Downstairs, young Isidore Beautrelet slept on the bench in the old oratory, under the watchful eye of the village policeman, who had been attached to his person. Outside, the gendarme, the farmer and a dozen peasants had taken up their position among the ruins and along the walls. All was still until 11 o'clock. But at 10 minutes past 11, a shot echoed from the other side of the house. "Attention!" roared the sergeant. "2 men remain here. You, Fossier, and you, Lecanu, the others at the double." They all rushed forward and ran round the house on the left. A figure was seen to make away in the dark. Then suddenly a second shot drew them farther on, almost to the borders of the farm. And all at once, as they arrived, in a band, at the hedge which lines the orchard, a flame burst out to the right of the farmhouse, and other flames also rose in a thick column. It was a barn burning, stuffed to the ridge with straw. "The scoundrels!" shouted the sergeant. "They've set fire to it. Have at them, lads, they can't be far away." But the wind was turning the flames toward the main building; and it became necessary, before all things, to ward off the danger. They all exerted themselves with the greatest